Nicholas, the Boy Who Became Santa is an animation from 1990. It's directed by Stephen Hahn and Fernando Uribe. I apologize if I've mispronounced that. And it's an interesting concept. I like the animation style, but I didn't love the film itself. It's about a boy called Nicholas, well, who ends up becoming St. Nicholas, and it's a story about what life was like with the Romans and the harsh treatment against Christians. I will say the dichotomy of good and evil in this is really brilliantly done. One minute we have these really generous acts with Nicholas, and then we have this brutal treatment of other characters, and it's definitely very strong and powerful in that regard. I think they got that really well. But what I didn't love was the pacing. I feel like a lot of it was very slow, and then there were times when a lot seemed to happen in a short space of time, and the pacing just was a little too inconsistent for my liking. And I also feel like I'm not 100% sure who this is aimed at. Because on the one hand, it seems like a very, well, I guess a very simplistic way of telling this story. It's only half an hour, it doesn't go into a tremendous amount of detail, but at the same time, even though I kind of feel like it's told in a way that's suitable for children, I feel like a lot of it would go over young children's heads. Certainly for me as a child of, maybe 7, 8 years old, I think there's a lot in this that I probably wouldn't understand. Maybe that's because of the kind of education I had. We didn't really, in fact, I don't even think I ever studied the Romans at school. I must have done. I must have studied ancient Rome at some point. And my religious background, I'm spiritualist, I'm religious, but in terms of religious education, we did have RE lessons at school, but again, nothing in any great depth. So I think it depends on what the child already knows if it's going to be suitable for a younger viewer. I think to supplement existing learning, it could be okay, but I don't think it would be a good choice if a child has no idea about what's going on in this cartoon or the background or why characters are being treated in certain ways. I think it definitely is kind of supplemental to other education, which is fine, but I think that's just worth bearing in mind. As an adult viewer, as I said, I feel like it is a story that's told with the intention of teaching young children, so it's maybe not as engaging to an older viewer. But then again, we have the really striking dichotomy of good and evil, which I did find to be very, very well done, and I found that to be quite engaging. There were some brutal treatments that were kind of hard to watch. They were very emotive. The kindness aspect, of course, is very inspirational. But the character of Nicholas, I never really felt like I got to know him, if that makes sense. Considering it's meant to be his story and about who he was, this is based on fact, of course, and how he came to be known as how he became Saint Nicholas, and then obviously eventually that becomes the legend of Santa Claus. I never really felt like I got a good connection with the character. I don't think it did a good job of portraying the character. And when you mix that in with a story that's got not the best pacing and is maybe not the most engaging for older viewers and maybe a little bit too complex for younger viewers, and of course I could be wrong, I could be underestimating children, but just from my initial viewing of it, I feel like it requires a certain level of basic knowledge about certain events in history or certain treatments for it to make sense. But again, maybe I'm underestimating the knowledge of children. But when you combine all of that together, it just means that it's not brilliant. If you have a particular interest in the Boy Who Became Santa, or indeed this period of history, then absolutely check it out. There will be things in it that are fascinating. The good versus evil, again, I thought was done very well. But I wouldn't say it's good for anybody who doesn't know anything about St. Nicholas or doesn't know anything about this period in history. I don't think it's an entry level cartoon, although the cartoon aspect is very well done. It's very, very well animated. Visually, I found it to be very pleasing. So it's not terrible. It is watchable, but I definitely didn't love it.